Hello and welcome to another Can Indian channel feature. Today I'll be reviewing one of my favorite inspirational books, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. You must have heard Will Smith or Amitabh Bachchan referencing context from this book. This book was published in 1988 and has sold over 20 million copies. In a nutshell, the moral of this book is we give up on our dreams too easily. Yet, the universe is always ready to help us fulfill them. It's a short but extremely interesting story spanning on 163 pages. This book left a big impression on me. While reading through the book, you can tell that the author is wise, that he has lived a long time because of the messages he shares through the characters in his story. It's almost as if, while you're reading it, you can imagine your grandfather telling it to you, as if it was a tale from his childhood. I always thought that novels were a waste of time because you never learn any real-life lessons from them, but this book has finally proved me wrong. The story itself is special. Even when I was a child, I never had imagination quite like the authors. There were a few times where I seriously couldn't sleep, reading impatiently in the middle of the night to find out what happens next. Here's how the story unfolds. A recurring dream troubles Santiago, a young and adventurous Andalusian shepherd. He has a dream every time he sleeps under a tree that grows out of the ruins of a church. During the dream, a child tells him to seek a treasure at the foot of the Egyptian pyramids. Santiago consults a gypsy woman to interpret the dream, and to his surprise, she tells him to go to Egypt. Then a strange magical old man who claims to be the king of Salem echoes the gypsy's advice and tells Santiago that it is his personal legend to journey to the pyramids. The old man convinces Santiago to sell his flock and set off to Tangier. When Santiago arrives in Tangier, a thief robs him, forcing him to find work with a local crystal merchant. The conservative and kindly merchant teaches Santiago several lessons, and Santiago encourages the merchant to take risk with his business. The risk pays off, and Santiago becomes a rich man in just a year. Santiago then decides to cash in his earnings and continue pursuing his personal legend to find the treasures at the pyramid. He joins a caravan crossing the Sahara Desert towards Egypt and then meets an Englishman who is starting to become an alchemist. He learns a lot from the Englishman during the journey. For one, he learns that the secret of alchemy is written on a stone called the Emerald Tablet. The ultimate creation of an alchemy is a masterwork, which consists of a solid called the Philosopher's Stone that can turn lead to gold, and a liquid called the Elixir of Life that can cure all ills. Santiago learns the Englishman is traveling with the caravan to the Saharan oasis of Al-Fayoum, where a powerful 200-year-old alchemist resides. The Englishman plans to ask the alchemist the secret of his trade. As it turns out, the caravan must make an extended stop in Al-Fayoum in order to avoid increasingly violent tribal wars taking place in the desert. There, Santiago falls in love with a girl named Fatima, who lives at the oasis. During a walk in the desert, Santiago witnesses an omen that portends an attack on the historically neutral oasis. He warns the tribal chieftain of the attack, and as a result, Al-Fayoum successfully defends itself against the assault. The alchemist gets the word of Santiago's vision and invites Santiago on a trip onto the desert, during which he teaches Santiago about the importance of listening to his heart and pursuing his personal legend. He convinces Santiago to leave Fatima and the caravan for the time to finish a journey to the pyramids, and he offers to accompany Santiago on the next leg of his trip. While the alchemist and Santiago continue through the desert, the alchemist shares much of his wisdom about the soul of the world. There are mere days away from the pyramids when a tribe of Arab soldiers capture them. In an exchange for his life and the life of Santiago, the alchemist hands over to the tribe all of Santiago's money and tells the soldier that Santiago is a powerful alchemist who will turn into wind within 3 days. Santiago feels alarmed because he has no idea how to turn into the wind, and over the next 3 days he contemplates the desert. On the third day, he communicates with the wind and the sun and coaxes them to help him create a tremendous sandstorm. He prays to the hand that wrote all, and at the height of the storm he disappears. He reappears on the other side of the camp, and then the tribesmen, awed by the power of the storm and by Santiago's ability, let him and the alchemist go free. The alchemist continues to travel with Santiago as far as a Coptic monastery several hours from the pyramid. Therefore, he demonstrates to Santiago his ability to turn lead into gold using the philosopher's stone. He gives Santiago's gold and sends him off. Santiago begins digging for the treasure at the foot of the pyramids, but the two men accost him and beat him. When Santiago speaks to them about his dream vision, they decide he must have no money and let him live. Before leaving, one of the men tries to illustrate the worthlessness of the dreams by telling Santiago about his own dream. It concerns a treasure buried in an abandoned church where a tree grows. This church is the same one in which Santiago had his original dream, and he finally understands where his treasure is. He returns to Spain to find a chest of jewels and gold buried under the tree, and plans to return with it to Al Fayoum, where he wants to reunite with Fatima, who awaits him. The alchemist does not get away from the fact that the dreams have a price, but as Coelho has said in interviews, not living your dreams also has its price. Remember the end part of the story when Santiago meets one of the thieves who says about the dream about a treasure in Spain and never chases that dream. For the same money, he said, you can either buy a horrible jacket that does not fit or one that suits you and looks right. It's better to have problems that make sense because they're a part of what you're trying to achieve. The old man who Santiago meets in the town square tells him not to believe the biggest lie, that you cannot control your destiny. You can, he says, but you must read the omens, which becomes possible when you start to see the world as one. The world can be read like a book, but we will never be able to understand it if we have a closed existence, complacent and unwilling to risk anything. The Alchemist is remarkable for being a love story that renounces the idea that romantic love must be central to people's lives. Each person has a destiny that exists independently of others. It is the thing that you would do or be even if you had all the love and money you want. The treasure Santiago seeks is a symbol of the personal dream or destiny, but he's happy to give it up on it when he finds the woman of his dreams in a desert oasis. The alchemist he meets in the desert tells him that the love of his woman will only be proved real if she's willing to support his search for the treasure. Santiago's dilemma is about the conflict between love and personal dreams. Too often we see a love relationship as a meaning of our life, but the obsession with romantic coupling can cut us off from life more connected with the rest of the world. Surely the heart has needs. Live your life around the dream, Coelho says. There will be more heart in your life than you can comprehend. No heart has ever suffered when it goes in search of its dreams, because every second of the search is a second encounter with God and with eternity. Romantic love is important, but it's not your duty. This is to pursue your dream. Only through devotion to the dream is the soul of the world revealed to us, the knowledge that destroys loneliness and gives us power. Now for the final comments. You might ask, what is an alchemist? For what I understand, an alchemist is like a magician chemist who can turn any metal into gold. But throughout the story and the search for the alchemist, I feel like this was more like a metaphor for life in general. If we follow our personal legends, we can perform the same magic, turn our ordinary lives into gold, as long as we believe in the journey and don't give up on what we believe is our destiny. If you're looking for inspiration, this story brings it in droves. Much of the self-help literature is about pursuing our destiny, but dreams do not always pull us along. They speak persistently but quietly, and it does not take much effort to smother the inner voices. Who is willing to risk comfort, routine, security, and existing relationship to follow something that to others look like a mirage? It takes courage and dog-eared stained copies of Coelho's classic, which have become the constant companion of people who need to make fearless decisions daily to keep true to a larger vision. For anyone who reads not only to escape reality, but also to understand reality. Alchemist is for them. The Alchemist can offer the best of both worlds. The events of the novel sit just on the borderline of miraculous, and the ambience is simply just not that of our humdrum teenage world. The Alchemist also supplies insight and inspiration that extends beyond Santiago's Sahara and into all lives, whether young, old, or teenage. The Alchemist may not be a regular fiction book, but it most definitely still deserves a place on your bookshelf. Thank you for watching this video. If this interests you, I highly suggest that you either listen to the audiobook or you actually read this book. It's not a long book, and the audiobook is about an hour and a half long. I will be including that in the description below. This is Canadian Channel signing off. Peace.